You ever burped into a U87? It's awesome.
I have not.
So just crystal clear, and the fidelity is just beautiful.
What would it sound like if someone went into it? Would that sound good? Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Is ASMR still a thing?
I hope not, because I hate it with the burning passion.
It's got to still be a thing.
I hate it, man. Can't do it. Cannot do it.
Well, hi, everybody.
What's up? Are we ready to start the episode here?
I think that was it.
Oh, we're here?
Yeah, we're going. I think that's a good way to start.
God. Okay. All right. Well, welcome everyone. Dipped in Tone, episode wherever, season
2, episode
2. Yep. Here we are.
Maybe. Wait.
I don't know. We're out here. I'm Rhett. That's Zach. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing. We kind of stalled out on the subscriber number.
Yeah.
A little bit, but
I blame myself because here's the thing, right? I'm still doing a lot of the video stuff.
Uh-huh.
And Milton is still covering a lot of the audio.
Yeah.
So I work, 8 to 6, drive home, and then I would normally start working on the podcast, but I'm just so tired, and I want to spend time with the family. So I'll do it on Friday, and then Friday shows up and it's like, oh, hey, we got to paint the house or something. And so it just never happens. So I got to get on a better schedule. My brain has
no, what we need is someone to just handle the audio and the video.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Milton, but we need someone to just, here's the files. Here's your payment. Now let's get it synced up, get it uploaded. You probably still need to do the thumbnails because you've kind of developed a unique thumbnail style for this show.
As weird as I can get it is what I want to be. Although I think the best thumbnail I've seen as of late award goes to RJ for his gold top.
Oh, yeah. This is going to financially ruin me.
No, I'll never financially recover from this. Joe Exotic. He works on everything,
He really does.
And he's in jail, so what's he going to do? We can use his picture all the time. I'm kidding.
Man. Let's see. Old Man Brogan in the Patreon chat says, can producer Chris do it? Producer Chris probably could do it.
Yeah,
he doesn't have the mixing chops, though, yet. He's brand new to the world of recording and mixing. I've just got him to the point where he can open a session and get tracks pulled up and stuff like that. That's kind of where he's at. So I don't think I trust him to mix the show yet, but he's become a hell of a video editor over the last several months.
And I got this new plugin, so now I should be sounding better consistently. So
yeah,
hopefully.
There's going to be a little learning curve with it, I think.
Yeah. Well, how was your week?
Let's see.
You had a visitor.
Oh, I did. Miss Mary Spender came over from across the pond from jolly old London town or thereabouts. It was great, man. She came down last Thursday and stayed till Sunday, and it was awesome. It was good. I've not seen her since Winter NAMM of 2020, when we all had the YouTuber Airbnb house situation, which was awesome. But it was cool, man. We hung out. It was her second or third time in Atlanta, but the only other time she's been here was in or out, real quick, in and out. So it was cool. I got to show her the city. Took her to Waffle House for her first time.
Yes.
And she had the audacity to say, well, I've been to Denny's, and that's kind of the same thing. And I was like, how dare you, madam? It is not the same thing. Denny's is swill compared to Waffle House. It is trash. Denny's is not even in the same playing field as Waffle House. And I proved my point. I took her to Waffle House. I ordered for her. I was like, she asked what to get, and I just said, just don't worry about it. And did the All-Star special, hash browns covered, scrambled eggs covered, raisin toast, sausage, and a waffle.
Right.
And that was the move.
Do you think now? I mostly agree with you about Denny's. Most of the Denny's I've ever been to have been bad, but I have been to some that have been pretty good, and I feel like it's kind of like that. it's the, the price and participation may vary sort of thing. Like maybe some Denny's just kind of do their own thing a little bit. And,
The
you
last
know,
Denny's I ever went to was in St. Augustine, Florida, and it was the only time in my life I've ever walked out of a restaurant because it was so literally it was disgusting. It was so we walked in and the entire place smelled like urine. I mean, it smelled like someone had just peed on the floor. And
mm,
our poor waitress, I feel bad for the woman. She should not have been at work. And this is pre-pandemic. This was years ago. She was walking around the restaurant um, with obviously some sort of respiratory illness
mm,
and was open mouth coughing everywhere nonstop. And it was not a dry cough. And she came and
uh,
took our orders. And then you could just hear her walking around the restaurant, hacking her lungs out. And we all looked at each other and said, I'm not going to eat here. I'm not going to do this. And so that's never happened at a Waffle House. And I've eaten at plenty of Waffle Houses all over the United States. And so, yeah.
well, not to get too, not to derail too much. What do you think about Huddle House?
I think I've only had a Huddle House once.
Yep.
And the whole time I was there, I just thought, I wish this was a Waffle House.
Right. I think it's an okay substitute, but I agree. Waffle House is it's pretty good. It's pretty
Waffle House is a beacon of hope in a dark, dark sea of despair. The giant golden sign. I can't tell you. There's been more than one time in my life where, you've been driving overnight back from Des Moines, Iowa, or wherever you are, and it's 4 a.m. and you're starving, and you just see the Waffle House sign coming up over the horizon. You're like, oh, a safe space, a haven.
Right. Oh man.
Yeah. So there you go. That was my week.
Yeah.
It's good. We did a couple videos. We went down to Rick's. She did a video. Well, 3 of us did a video together on Rick's channel, and then did something for her channel, which will come out on March 1st, my birthday. And then we did a cover. She and I did a cover here in my studio that hopefully will come out in the near future because I'm real stoked on how it came out.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
How was your week?
It was pretty cool. Paul Reed Smith called me.
Oh yeah, as he does, as he's known to do from time to time.
So yeah, that was pretty neat. So we have a mutual friend here in town. I mean, obviously Paul knows a lot of guitar players, and they had mentioned me to Paul and mentioned that I had the HX50, and I was telling them they should check it out, and then they said, and they relayed that to him, and he said, "Hey, have him get in touch." And so I texted.
We don't
him
have to be secretive about who it is. He's a friend of both of ours.
Well, it's Kenny Greenberg.
Yeah.
Who is a fantastic guitar player and all around nice guy.
Yep.
And yeah, he just he connected us, and Paul and I talked about pedals, and he was like, "Have you ever heard of this?" I was like, "No." And then we were talking about fuzzes and all sorts of cool stuff, and he wants to get together. And oddly enough, Stevensville, where the factory is,
Right.
is on the way home for my wife when we go back to Maryland. So it's I don't know, it's like an hour and a half from her place. So
Nice.
hopefully, at some point when we go back, we can, or at least I can go visit and check everything out, because I would love to see their facility, because all the YouTube videos make it look very much like the most futuristic guitar place.
Right. Hey man, crab cakes and football. That's what Maryland does.
Right.
No, I think it'd be cool. I think you should go up and do it.
Yeah, I want to, and he was very nice, and I'm sending him some stuff, and we're gonna talk about it. He was funny though. He said, if I don't like it, I'll tell you, and I was like, okay, I can take it. But apart from that, we're revamping the art for all the pedals,
Right.
and that's been a lot of it's been pretty fine, but there have been a few that have just really kind of stopped me in my tracks. But I think we got it. Most of the art is all revamped and going to be printed and stuff in the next couple weeks. So the old pedals, most of the dealers are out, so that's good. We still have a back stock, so we'll probably have a blowout sale on all the old stuff. But really, just that. I'm getting the burnout though. The burnout's coming. It's here. It's set in.
You need to take a break.
I know.
I know, dude. I faced that last year. Like The burnout really set in probably in September, October timeframe. And
Yeah.
luckily I had something on the calendar where I was gone for a month, and that
Mm.
helped me get over it. But
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes you just got to take some time away, you know?
Yeah, and I think I'm whittling down a lot of the projects that are kind of wearing on me. So, um, but hopefully, I mean, it's just funny, you know. It's February, and I'm already burnt out. It's like the year's just started. But you know,
Yeah,
we'll
but
see.
it's not like you start January with like a completely clean slate,
No,
you
no.
know? When you're working like this, it's like, okay, the new year came and went. Here we go. Still doing the
Right.
same thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's exhausting, but it's good. So yeah, you want to dip this rig that we
Let's
got?
do it. Did you
Okay,
find one?
I got one, baby.
So if you're
Let's see.
just joining us and you're new around here, this is something we do with our patrons where we have our Patreon supporters send in, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
send in a rig for us to dip. Wow. Okay, what is this?
So this is from Peyton.
Manning?
Uh, S- Sassaman.
Oh,
Uh, looks like he's from Macon.
hell yeah.
So he says he is. This is his on-call rhythm lead. Wait, he's an on-call rhythm lead guitarist for a few bands around town, playing everything from blues, jazz, soul, southern rock, and he plays a lot of different stuff. But what we got on in this setup, he's got the PRS Special semi-hollow, which I was lusting after.
Right.
The Sir Classic S, which is such an awesome like Sir guitar. Sir S style guitars are probably the best, you know, apart from Fender themselves. Overdrive Special Clone, a Tone Master Super Reverb, so new, and a pedal board. Probably have to zoom in on this picture, and an aux. Let me pull up the picture on my computer here. Looks like on the pedal board we got an exotic wah, the 29 pedals Una, Cali 76 compressor, a Gladio. I don't remember the name of this company. They make a TS10 clone, which is funny to me. Prince of Tone. Don't know what this one is with the orange knobs.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either.
UA Satellite, the UA Golden, an HX Stomp. I think that's a warped vinyl,
Yep.
Qtron, and a Polytune Mini. So,
Oh, the and the blue one, that's the in the top right, the
is that
WAMP?
is that the OAMP or the? Oh no,
The WAMP.
it's the Una.
Oh, the Una.
EUNA.
Right. Man, I've been seeing those pop up a lot on my social media feeds recently, and I'm real keen on those. They look really cool.
Oh, that pedal, that's a Keeley. That's the Cosmic Country Daniel Donato thing. I think it's a modulation of some
Nice.
sort or another. But yeah, that's the rig, and this is, man, what a smorgasbord. have we
This
got
is
here.
a high quality rig right here. This is a spare no expense kind of rig.
Yeah.
All right, so guitars, yeah, I mean the Sir and the PRS, pretty good examples of both guitars.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, both of those. I've played a lot of Sirs and I've played a lot of PRSs, and I think in terms of modern guitar manufacturers, if you're looking for something that is sort of a modern take, especially on the Strat, that is a little bit different than what Fender offers, but is really, really highly quality built. I mean, the Sir probably is the way to go. And then the PRS, I mean, you know, it's a PRS. Neither one are particularly my cup of tea, but that's okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think both of these guitars, there must be something about like this type of player and me and what I look for in a guitar, which is I can see a theme here, which is Peyton in his guitars is looking for something that is very refined, very well built, very modern, and very almost straight ahead, if I could say that. Like every Sir guitar I've ever played has been very good, but for me, it's always lacked something. They've
Yeah.
always just kind of had, and the same thing with the PRS. They're objectively great guitars that don't excite me at all, but
Mhm.
that's okay. This isn't my rig. What do you think?
I mean, like I'm kind of right there with you in some ways. I mean, like I've definitely played. I've not spent that much time with Sir guitars, but everyone I've played has been like, oh, this is really nice. There've been a few classic antiques I've played that were really just, you know, phenomenal instruments. Um, and the PRS thing, I feel like, you know, you kind of either love the pickups or you don't work with them.
Hmm.
And I feel like the guitar itself, once you kind of get the pickups in there, and I think that's true for most electric guitars. If the guitar's there and you voice it with the pickups the way you want it to sound, you can do so much, and that's such a versatile setup. So it's obvious to me that there's some John Mayer inspiration here. What with the
Oh yeah, the Qtron.
yeah, and the TS10 and the
Yep.
Prince of Tone and stuff.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Definitely a Mayer fan with, and especially the Dumble as well.
yeah,
Nothing wrong with that. Now onto the board here. This is very, very interesting.
yeah,
So it's cool because with that HX stomp on there, that board can exist as a rig on its own. Like
mhm,
without the amps and without the aux, you could run just that board with that stomp and it would sound pretty great as long as you got the presets sounding good on your stomp.
yeah,
And yeah, dude, all high quality stuff here. I have a Gladio. They sent me late last year,
uh-huh,
and it's cool. If you're looking for that Dumble in a box thing, it does that really well. Also, props for the Prince of Tone and not the King of Tone. I think the Prince of Tone is the better choice, honestly, because it's more affordable.
yeah.
It's more easily accessible, more pedal board friendly. That's my personal choice. Um, Man, the two UA pedals. And then is it 29 pedals that makes the Una? Is that
Yeah,
the name of the company?
that's I've talked to the guy that builds them, but I honestly don't know much about them apart from I see them on a lot of boards, and I think
Hmm.
that's um, it stands for Elite Unity Amplifier. Um, so it's like a fancy buffer, I believe.
It's a fancy boy buffer.
And I don't
Yeah,
mean that in like a derogatory way.
no, no, no.
You know,
It is. It's like and from what I've seen, it's a. Well, I get confused because they have the Una and then they have, I think it's called the WAMP, right? The
there's the OAMP.
Yeah, but
Um,
people pronounce it WAMP. At least that's what I think I've seen
oh
on the interwebs.
man, I
Um,
don't.
and I can't remember which does which, but both are sort of like just general tone shaper, tone helper kind of tools for your pedal board, which I think is really cool.
Mhm.
Um, they're not cheap, but they do a good job, at least from what I've seen. I've never played one.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like I've had people ask me about it, and the the OAMP, which or WAMP stands for output amplifier. Like I'm not as familiar with that. I've not really heard that one.
Mm.
Joey sent me a video of the other one back when they started coming out, but it's like I don't know. Is it like I feel like it's one of those things that I start to see on a lot of boards, and people are. I feel like they're getting it because it's popular. And again, I don't mean I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, but is it necessary? You know, like
Well,
are you missing something? Like, is it is it a necessary expense? Do you have to have it? Because there's
I
a lot
mean,
of stuff
no,
on that board.
but again, if we're gonna go down that road, then a necessary expense. There, you could start to split hairs on anything. Peyton's actually in the YouTube
Oh,
chat.
I see that.
He says that's exactly why I got the HX. Almost had to use it as a backup on a gig. You probably will at some point have to use it as a backup. It's also just nice to have that option. He says so the Una makes it feel like you're plugging directly into the amp from a clarity standpoint. So yeah,
Right.
it's kind of like uh, you know what I had for a long time on my board was the BBE Sonic Maximizer,
Oh yeah.
and I really liked what that did. Now I'm not comparing the Una to a Sonic Maximizer, but it was that same kind of effect where you would turn the Sonic Maximizer on. I had it in the last thing of my chain, and I just left it on, and it was sort of like you were just lifting a blanket off of the amp, basically.
Right.
Just added some clarity, added some punch. So yeah, this is cool. I'd like to try something like that out. There's one guy on YouTube I saw that's like an ambient guitar player, and unfortunately his name is escaping me at the moment. But he's done a couple pedals on or a couple of videos on these pedals, and he has two of them because he runs stereo,
Oh man.
and yeah, he puts two of them on his board. And I mean, he does the ethereal sort of ambient kind of thing, but it sounds phenomenal on his videos.
Do you think that's a thing though that can like you could recover that loss just with your amplifier? Like, what?
Um, I don't know because if it depends on what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Because if you're trying to recover some of the top end clarity and presence that you get from plugging your guitar straight into your amplifier, there aren't many amps that have like that EQ point that you have control over, right? Like
yeah,
even the treble or the presence is just a different spot on the EQ spectrum. And so if you're trying to bring that back, something like the Una or a sonic maximizer or some kind of EQ or something to bring, or a buffer to bring that top end and that clarity and that punchiness back. I don't know that that's something you could dial in with your amp. It depends on the amplifier.
yeah, yeah. It's just I talk a lot on the or I communicate a lot on that pedal show Facebook group, and I saw people talking about needing a kind of acting like they need a buffer on their board,
Mm,
but I think sometimes we get like in over our heads just thinking we have to have all these things that
right.
other people have when you might not, because like depending on your, like, this is a pretty sizable board and there's definitely going to be some signal loss,
Right.
but is it, is it necessary? I guess it just depends, but
Well, I think that's a side effect of like what we do online. We
yeah,
talk about gear all the time. I talk about it. This podcast talks about it. That pedal show sure talks about it a lot. And so we kind of generate this idea sometimes um unintentionally that like, oh, in order to have good tone, you have to do these things. And
right.
I try and keep that in mind when I'm making videos of saying like, hey, this is just how I do something, or this is my opinion on something. Sometimes I do a good job of that, sometimes I don't. But I think, yeah, you're right. There's this culture with people that spend time on like the guitar YouTuber sort of spheres that you, and I've found myself doing it, like with this 29 pedals thing. I've seen a couple of YouTube videos talking about it and showing it. I'm like, oh, I need that. I want that, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
That
yeah.
happens.
So okay, and then the amps. All right. So the Dumble clone, and Peyton's in the chat here. Who built the Dumble clone?
Maybe it's a secret.
Oh. Well, I want to know who built the Dumble clone if possible. And then the Tone Master Super Reverb killer amp. I actually gigged with mine back in December. I had only 2 shows in December, but they're both local here in Atlanta.
Mhm.
And I took my Tone Master Super on both of those gigs, and it was awesome. They were both theater. Triatone,
Chariotone.
Chariotone. Okay, cool. Those are great. Yeah. But the Tone Master Super, I really enjoyed playing, man. It was super convenient. It sounded great in the room, like on a stage in a room full of people with a band, and then being able to turn down the output volume with the switch on the back. I just ran it like one click back from full power, and both were like 1500 to 1800 cap rooms,
Mhm.
and it sounded great. Sounded
That's
really,
awesome.
really good. In that context, on that stage, you could not tell even remotely closely that it wasn't a tube driven super reverb reissue. You couldn't
Right.
tell.
Yeah, I'm curious to try one. I've seen them around. Dennis Fano, DF, he bought a vintage one, like
Oh
a
yeah.
66, and so I'd be curious to like compare them, just to
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah. I did a video on that, and the 66 that I had my hands on had been modded. It had the Dumble Ultraphonics mod that was
Oh,
done
that's
by,
right.
I believe, Eli at Two Rock. As far as I know, that was who did the mod. I don't know
Mhm.
for sure, but um, and they didn't really sound all that similar. But again, it's like,
If it's modded, it might be hard to, you
yeah,
know.
and it's which 66 and what state are the speakers in, and does it have the
Yeah,
original tubes, or like there's a lot of variables when you start trying to compare the vintage amp to a modern take on a modern reissue. It's sort of just like, look, does it sound good? If it sounds good, it is good.
yeah, yeah. And it's funny though. Every time we go in and play that super, that me and everybody that hears it's like, man, that's the amp I need, you
Mm.
know. So. But anyway, what would you rate Peyton's rig here?
Um, well,
I feel
I
like
mean,
this one's hard to
this
rate.
one's hard. He's got all the big boy toys for sure. I mean, this is
Yeah.
like he's dropped some money on this rig. I mean, we didn't even talk about the UA stuff. He's got the aux and then the 282 UA pedals. He's got the warped vinyl. He's got the Qtron. I mean, we skimmed over a lot here.
Yeah.
Definitely has the ability to get some really great sounding tones out of this rig.
Yes.
Definitely spent a lot of money on it, which there's nothing wrong with.
No, hey.
Both of us have spent a lot of money on our rigs.
Oh yeah.
um, you know, here's what I would like to see different. I've never been a fan of an HSS Strat personally. I know they're super
Sure.
versatile, but you've already got the humbucker thing covered with the PRS. I'd like to see that swapped out for a straight ahead Strat. And if I'm really getting nitpicky and cork sniffery here, I'm not a huge fan of the Sir stuff. I think, I probably prefer one of the higher end fenders personally over a Sir.
Sure.
And then PRS it's PRS. It's great. Not for me. So I'm gonna say 8.4 Shoyles here. This is a tough one. It's because it's a great rig. It's a really, really great rig. But there's just some things here that aren't for me. And this is a subjective rating. So
yeah, I think it's funny. Like I agree with you. Some Sirs I've played have been like, some are just like, wow, this is great. And then some like, The one thing I do like about Sir is they were the first people to do a stacked volume pot. So the humbucker sees a 500K load and the single coils are 250. So there's like that balance is there, which I think is really important. But for me with this, I would cut it in half. I would have the PRS. I would probably just take one or two of those overdrive pedals, maybe just the Gladio, and I'm starting to like Bluesbreaker circuits a little more. Although I don't like the Prince of Tone, so I would take the TS10 and the Gladio, and like the one of the like the delay, and maybe the warp vinyl. And if it was like that, the PRS, and then the Dumble or the Super, I would be like that'd be almost perfect for me. But as it stands, I think I give it an 8.9. I think it's a great rig.
Wow, we're really close.
Yeah, I think it's a great rig. But it's definitely like, this is tailored for like his taste specifically, and I think that's great.
Right. Okay, there you go. So last week we were as far apart as we've ever been?
Yeah, it was pretty far. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so then this week we're pretty much in line here.
Yeah.
Look at us being dynamic, changing things.
You never know what's going to happen.
Pushing the envelope with all the stuff,
So I asked the Discord about whoa.
Oh, there we are.
About a topic, and then it dawned on me. I know what we can talk about.
Okay.
So I don't know if I announced this to everyone yet, but the Herculean is going away. As it sits.
And just like that, all the prices on Reverb doubled.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, there's still a bunch of new ones, so buy them up. And I'm gonna we still have a bunch of the D Herc, the Dumble style looking Hercs, and R.I.P. Mr. Dumble, by the way.
Right.
That style, we still have 30 or 40 of those that we're gonna build. But when all those are done, the Herculean V2 is dead.
Just a quick side note: can you set one of those aside for me to purchase from you, because I don't have one, and I want one before it goes away.
Yeah, but maybe. Well, okay, I can. But what I think we should talk about is, how do I go? And this is a big question.
Okay.
How do I go about creating the ultimate overdrive like that?
Well, okay. So for the uninitiated, describe the Herculean, what it did, and why you're killing it off.
So initially, the Herculean was a modded tube screamer. And at the time, I made a modded tube screamer, a modded Bluesbreaker, and a modded Nobles ODR1. And I said, this is really stupid because like none of them are selling great, so I should just condense them into one pedal. And so I started over and I made the Herculean V2, which took away the input and output buffers, added a bass control, and kind of revoiced the pedal to give you everything from the 808 vibes to a little bit more clarity to lots of bass like an ODR1. And it's loud and dynamic. And the reason I'm killing it is because everyone thinks it's a tube screamer and it doesn't sell that great. So
right, because everyone makes the tube screamer.
Yeah.
And it's okay. I'm not going to get on my rant. So continue.
So I mean that's basically it. So why I'm killing it is because it up until recently with that new art, they just didn't sell, and I don't like trying to keep something alive for no reason. So
Right.
with the fact that we're revamping the artwork a little bit, all of it's getting just a fresh coat of paint yet again. I know I just did this, but we're doing it again. Um, I think now's the time I'm gonna kill the V2 and start working on a V3. And I've polled people on Instagram. We've done all this stuff, and literally no suggestion has, except for maybe one, has really made me go, that's a good idea. And
Okay.
not to shit on what people are saying, but like you have to look at it from a builder's perspective and not like a, it's a when you're building it and when you're just playing it, it's a different world. So
Sure. So what was the suggestion?
the suggestion that I like is adding a mid-range control.
Okay.
So, um, being able to have that mid-forward thing or make it a little bit more scooped. And that's something that
Yeah.
is totally viable. But like for you, because I know that some of your favorite overdrives are going to be the Timmy,
Yep.
the Lightspeed,
Yep.
probably, and then probably the Klon style circuit.
Yeah, the Mjolnir, the Wildwood Mjolnir has become a staple for me.
So, you know, in that camp, because
I also really like the ODR one as well, though. I don't really talk about it. The only
okay.
one I currently have is in the Protein.
Right.
But I do enjoy that, the way that thing breaks up.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I think a lot of people look at that and assume it's a modded 808 or something, and it's not. It's totally different.
Right.
It's a green. And sometimes I play them and it's cool. And I don't know. The one I used to make, it was okay, and I enjoyed it, but it just never made me real excited to play
Right.
it. It sounded good, quiet, or like in a small amp at home, but every time I played it loud, it just felt too big. Like I don't
Right.
know, it's too bassy, even
Yeah,
with the bass knob.
Yeah, there's a lot of low end to it as well. And again, it's totally dependent on what you're playing into, Like
Yeah,
what kind of setup are you going into? Are you playing humbuckers into an overdriven mid-rangey amp? Well then, that's going to be different than if you were playing single coils into a mid-scooped kind of situation. The Patreon chat is going off right now. Everyone's we picked a good topic. I'm like
yeah,
trying to listen to you and read the chat, and it's not going super well. I like the idea of the mid-range control because it fixes an inherent problem with, and I know it's not a tube screamer circuit, but it adds that control that a lot of overdrives don't have but should have. If you think about where an overdrive sits in its job, a lot more overdrives like the tube screamer should have a mid control.
right.
That would fix my issue with the tube screamer, I think, almost immediately.
I mean, is that so? Like, if you were gonna take an amalgam of all your favorite drives that kind of live in that camp, like, what's a necessity? Like, what has to be on this circuit? Because here's a prototype that I made.
Cool.
So
Just sell that.
oh yeah, it doesn't sound great. But basically what this is I took the idea that the full drive 2 and the Timmy and the Janray, or not the Timmy, the Tim rather, did with the boost, which the boost part of those circuits is basically turning up and down the gain in the pedal itself. It's not an additional boost, and doesn't work with the Herculean. So that's right out. But on the feature set on this, like my initial thought was, hey, let's have some internal voicing controls to really fine tune it to your rig, maintaining all the normal controls that the original Herculean had, and then adding a clipping switch and then having this boost. And just none of it really was inspiring to me. So like, what's your laundry list of gotta have it on an overdrive or wish you could have it on an overdrive? And people in the chat chime in too. I'd like to see.
Well, it's tough because I don't really sit around and think like, what's my dream overdrive pedal. Like if I could design an overdrive there, because I like different overdrives for different reasons. And for me, it's more about, it's not the feature set on this drive or it's the controls or whatever. It's this drive sounds good and I like what it does with my playing style and my amp. So that is the Tim/Timmy, that is the Blues Breaker circuit, the Morning Glory, the Light Speed. That is things sort of off the wall stuff like the Drive-O-Matic or the AP preamp, the RL Posen preamp. I really love that pedal. The other part of this for me is I find myself now getting further away from overdrive pedals where the clipping and the distortion and saturation is coming from the pedal, and I'm going more towards using an amp breaking up. And that's just been a result of, for the past 2 years now, I've been primarily recording and playing at home with an aux or the 2 Notes Captor X with no speaker cabinet, so volume's not an issue. And I like the way an amplifier sounds breaking up. So the overdrives that I do use, more and more are becoming just kind of saturated boosts and not actual overdrives, because I don't play into clean amps. And I've had so many people complain about my version of clean in these videos that I've been doing. Like, that's not clean. That's not clean. It's like, it is clean. It's clean to me.
Just
like,
say your bypass signal.
Oh God. Anyways, so I think something to control the mid-range is really important, because that will make or break an overdrive pedal.
Yeah.
If the mid is not right, take the Tube Screamer. I think the mid-range is not right on a Tube Screamer. It only works well if you have a mid-scooped guitar going into a mid-scooped amplifier. And as such, I don't believe that makes it the greatest overdrive of all time. And yes, I know Stevie Ray Vaughan played them. I know John Mayer plays them. Like, the thing is, those guys don't sound like that because of the Tube Screamer. Like, Stevie Ray Vaughan would have sounded like Stevie Ray Vaughan whether or not he had a Tube Screamer on his board. Mayer is going to sound like Mayer whether or not he's got a Tube Screamer on his board. But to me, that's an example of the mid-range on a pedal just being wrong. And if you could switch that, or you could control that a little bit more, then you give it the ability to fit with a wider variety of rigs and a wider variety of players and guitars and amplifiers. So for me, I think a mid-range control is necessary. If we're just, if we're, blank slate, we have our druthers here, we can do what we want. Yeah. Throw a mid-range on there.
Yeah. And it's funny because, like, I think I'm the polar opposite with the Screamer. I mean, everyone that's listening knows that, but like, I've thought about doing the mid-range thing. I've also, having it be a pot. I've also thought about having it just be like a boost or flat switch. Because, like, does it have to be a pot? Can we find like the sweet spot and then set that works with, of course I'm next to Novo. We have most pickup combinations passing through. We have a bevy of amps that we can try things through to see if that makes sense. Bumforce in the chat mentioned a clean dry blend, which I personally hate. I don't like a clean mix on.
Oh, pedals. I like it, dude. I really like it.
I hate it because because I feel like I've never played one, and again, it's not something I gravitate towards, because if I have an overdrive, it is there to color the sound I have, because that's how I approach this stuff. And I'm not going to build something not for me, because why on earth would I do that? So what whenever I try it, I feel like sometimes let's say you just go full dry and you don't have any of that affected signal, I feel like it's got to be the same or have a little something to make it like retain that character or be even better than when that is off. Because there's some pedals that I've played, I'm not going to name names, where when you go to if you just have just the clean signal, it doesn't sound like your clean signal. And I think that is, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't work.
But the thing about a clean blend is in reality, no one would turn on their overdrive and have the clean blend all the way up, right?
No.
But to me, what it does, and I did this in a video that I made this week, where I was using the Revival drive. I believe it was the Revival drive. And basically the sound was the overdrive sound was good and it was saturated and it sounded great, but it was just too compressed. And I was playing my Esquire, and it kind of masked the sound of the Esquire. It wasn't plucky and punchy and twangy and bright. And so I just brought in like 20%, 15 to 20% of my clean blend, just enough to get that initial spank and that like the pick falling off the string, and it blends that in with the overdrive, and then your clarity comes back. It like the Heather Brown Blessed Mother does that. In fact, I think actually that's what I was using in the video, and when I was describing this one, the Blessed Mother overdrive, the way it breaks up on its own without the clean blend in, it's very compressed, it's very mid-rangey, and it's very gainy. Like it's actually kind of hard to get a lower gain sound out of it. But as you bring the clean blend up, it's blending in your clean signal, and then it seems like it's lowering the relative amount of gain too. So it kind of increases the headroom of the pedal, gives you more sweep on the gain knob. And that pedal, I think, sounds its best when you've got 20%, 25% of the clean blend brought in there.
Right. Yeah, it's just funny because like when I like talking about the Revival drive, like to me, if it's missing something without that clean mixed in, then you fix that. You make the pedal do that, you know, like you don't add another feature, you just make what's there work better. You know, like that's where my mind goes. I don't think like, oh, what would fix this would be not hearing the overdriven signal at all. You know, I would think, oh, if it needs more definition, we're going to swap some stuff and have these controls work better. You know, and that's just my mentality as a builder, but also as a guitar player. Like if I have to do something because something else isn't delivering, then I don't think the other thing's doing its job. But again, way more people are buying Revival drives than are buying Mythos pedals. So like, I know they're doing something right. Yo, yeah.
They're expensive, man. Like, yeah, but anytime I show the Revival drive or the Revival drive compact on my channel, the number one comment is like, man, that pedal's expensive. It's like, yeah, but the big one, the Revival drive, the big one does a lot. Like, yeah, when it's kind of like the color box, right? Where if you just look at it on the surface, you're like, damn, that's a lot of money for that thing. But then when you think about all the jobs that it can kind of cover and all the ground it can cover, it's, I'm not going to say it's worth it because that's down to the person buying the pedal. But
right.
I will say the Origin stuff is incredibly well built and it sounds really good. And
they're incredible. And the guys that build that stuff and design this stuff are remarkable. In our YouTube chat, Adam Baker said, is the clean blend a Klon thing? And it is. And that's very true. But the thing about the Klon is that it's a dual gain pot. So you're blending out the clean signal and you're blending in the drive. So it's turning both those controls at the same time, which I think works. And when the Klon's gain, or the clean mix, the gains all the way down, clean mix all the way up, with the treble in the right spot, you cannot tell that pedal's on. And so like that to me, it's like, that's doing the thing. It's working. But at any rate, I'm not putting a clean mix on the if it was a okay, I like it on fuzz. I like it with bass effects. Modulation, delay, reverb. Yeah. Okay. But for an overdrive, strictly an overdrive, not necessary in my opinion. So, but like, do you think, cause I know for you, I remember you had the plumes in a video, I think Sweetwater did. Yep. And you really liked the open clipping. And I think clipping is something that gets really confusing really fast for a lot of people.
Right.
For good reason. But I remember you remarking on having, I think in the middle setting, it like lifts the clipping diodes and all you're getting is the op amp being pushed.
Right. And I like op amp distortion a lot. That's what the Drive-O-Matic is. It's an op amp distortion. And that's what I liked in the plumes, is when you take those clipping diodes out, because it again fixes another problem that I have with the Tube Screamer, which is it's super compressed, it's mid-rangey, and it just lacks a lot of dynamics. But with that plumes, when you lifted those clipping diodes out and you went just op amp, it became more responsive and almost more amp like.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean it you're just overdriving that op amp. And that to me, when people talk about, oh, it's like this chip or that chip, that's one of the times it matters most, because when you're clipping the wave with diodes, a lot of that character and the subtlety goes away, but you can really hear it when you're not doing anything else other than just strictly overdriving that op amp. And that's when like using 9 or 18 volts really comes into play. But what I'm thinking, so let me lay down what I think the Herculean should have.
All right.
I'm going to keep all the knobs. So volume, gain, clarity, which is the tone knob, and bass.
Okay.
Add a mid-range control of some sort, either a switch
Okay.
or a pot. I think either works. I think I would have to ask people what they would want, because, I mean, it may not be dramatic enough to warrant having a pot,
Right.
but, have a clipping switch, and then have an onboard boost that is independent and maybe has an internal order switcher. I don't know. I order switching, I get it, and I know why people want it, but I feel like it's going to be one of those things you set it on one side or the other and you never touch it because that's the way you like it.
So I think no order switcher. I think clean. Well, no, we're not doing a clean blend. You said no. The Rhett Shull signature will have a clean blend.
Yeah.
I like the mid-range control being a switch. Although I don't know. Let me think about this for a second.
Yeah, see, it's hard. Like
a three-way toggle might be cool for the mid-range.
Okay.
A three-way toggle, like mini toggle, could be cool. But then you're going to get people complaining about like, oh, well, the setting I want is like in between these two settings.
Right.
So maybe you just put a pot on it and call it a day.
Yeah. I mean, if it works. I mean, that's the thing. It's like there's so many different ways to, because ultimately at its heart, I don't want to start over. I just want to take what I have that I like and make it more appealing and let people know, hey, this isn't a TS-808 clone.
Yeah. Maybe you should just change it from the Herculean to not a tube screamer.
Just the name of it.
Yeah.
Not a
mythos, not a tube
screamer. It's not a screamer.
It's not a screamer. Yeah, I like that. And then the clipping section. So would it be a two-way switch or a three-way switch?
I think it would be 3. And I think, and this is something I've thought about a lot too. Like either you go, classic silicon open and then some other fun thing. I like MOSFET clipping in this circuit. I think it makes it real chewy. It's very Zen drivey. It's more distorted. Or you go soft clipping, no clipping, hard clipping. But then you're going to get people go, why can't I have both? So, I mean, I like hard clipping in some circuits. Sometimes it doesn't sound different enough. But I know that this pedal could really do well if people understand that it's more like a Timmy instead of, anything else. Because
I'm telling you, it's just a branding issue.
Yeah.
Just keep it the same and call it the Mythos, more like a Timmy, not a tube screamer. You're gonna like it. Just buy it.
That will go over so well.
I mean, look, man, I'm an ideas guy. This stuff's just popping off my like all day. And that one's for free. You can have that one for free.
Okay. Well, I'm curious to see what the ones I have to pay for sound like.
Oh man. Okay, so the chat's kind of the chat seems to want to switch.
Sure.
Over a pot. Okay, I think that could be cool.
Be so much easier for me. It's easier to do a switch.
Then do a switch. If it's easier for you, do a switch.
Yeah, and here's the thing, and I've seen people debate this on forums and whatnot. I really, really, really like internal trim pots and switches because I like making it mine and no one else knowing what I'm doing. So I feel like though the community at large always moans about having to like open something up and adjust it.
If there's internal dip switches, I just don't use them. Because it's like, oh, I got to pull it off my board. And I got to do the thing. I got to go find a screwdriver and I got to take it off and then put it. And then what if I don't like it? And I got to do it all again. It's just a pain in the ass.
Right.
I wouldn't do it.
I'm such a tweaker. I like that's like it makes me so happy to open something and see like, oh, there's stuff in here. You know. Like for those that don't know, if you have one of the Dunlop reissue fuzz faces, now this is some work, but you can take the circuit board, you take the back off, and you take the circuit board out and flip it over, and there's bias pots under there.
I would never do that. Never.
But I mean, but you know, like if you're like, this thing just doesn't sound right, you could do that, turn it a little bit, or if you have a multimeter, you can measure the voltages and find out like, oh, this is a little too cold, and dial it right in. And that to me is like super fun. You make it more better. I don't know.
That is so interesting because that is my
nightmare.
idea of hell. I got to go find screwdrivers of different sizes now. I can't just have the one. I got to have the little ones. And I got to pull the damn thing off, and then I got to sit there with a multimeter, and I got to measure shit, and I just want to kick it on and have it sound good.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. So mid control.
You can see my amp that I blew up.
Yeah.
Grab it, kicking something. Oh man.
Yeah. I think so. Add a mid control toggle.
Yeah.
Add a clipping toggle. Rename it the Mythos, not a tube screamer, sort of a Timmy pedal. New art, different color.
Yeah.
Call it a day.
Okay. Is that enough? You think that's enough?
Well, why do you feel like you need to completely redo the whole thing? It seems like you just want a new pedal at this point.
I don't know. I just like, I never want to make just small moves and call it a new version. You know, I want it to be like big. I mean, okay. Do you think it should have an onboard boost?
I think that could be a cool thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a standalone boost circuit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
independent.
Yeah, exactly. Because then that's a value add for the pedal, because now you're getting a really great overdrive and a boost. That's one less pedal I have to have on my board, one less pedal I have to buy. Yeah, totally. Do a killer boost.
James in the YouTube chat said, what about a rotary knob to dial in caps, I guess for like the mid-range?
It'd be cool.
That could be kind of cool, you know, have like a selector switch that if it can fit on the board, because usually selector switches are pretty substantial. So.
Yeah, that's one thing that Fred at Divided by 13 does with his amps. He's got the click channels, and I really like that because you could just go ka-chunk, 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 and then find your thing, and then there it is.
Oh. Well, okay. Let's wrap this up, and then I have some interesting news that I forgot to mention. I think, okay, so we're gonna try the mid-range.
Right.
We're gonna try the boost. The clipping switch, easy,
the clean blend,
easy peasy. Clean blend. I'll put it on there, and then I'll just take the circuit and
just
scratch
put it on there. Put it on
knife.
there, mine, just on mine, and then. Hey, how about we meet in the middle? How about we do a clean blend on an internal trim pot?
Oh man. No. Oh. I'll you know what I would do? I would do for you, I'd build an individual clean blend, and you could have like loop. You could loop it in.
Oh my God.
Put a big knob on it. You can have one more pedal. Put it on the side, roll your foot.
Jesus. Remember when that was the thing? We used to see that all the time on boards, you know?
Yep. Yeah.
The big foot knob thing.
I don't know. It's dumb. But anyway, that's enough about the Herculean. I think I think people will get it once I redo it a little bit. But
once you rename it, for sure.
I don't want to rename it. I think Herculean's a great name. Although people, the algorithm on Reverb, it auto suggests Herculean with a U, H-U-R-C, which is not how the word is spelled.
Maybe you just make Herculean an acronym and it says, hey, everybody, real cool, understated. Somebody help me out here. Hey, everybody, real cool, understated, limited edition, aggressive.
Mid-range. Wait, not mid-range.
Herculean.
I can't speak or spell. I didn't have that toy as a child.
Speak and spell.
Anyway. Amps. You mentioned amps. News on the Mythos amp.
Uh-oh.
What?
Oh,
Prototype month, hopefully.
this month.
Maybe.
Oh, a month from now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh, we'll see. It's like uh, the stars aligned and things are working out, and like it's pretty interesting. I'm working with someone. I'll explain whenever if it comes to fruition. All the details will be revealed, but it's looking like I'm gonna have a little chassis with some tubes in it that we can try through the cabinets here and in the Novo shop, and we'll see what happens.
Man, I'm excited because I too have had an update on my amp situation. Um,
Ah,
should have a prototype ready to go play in Asheville this month.
oh shoot,
Yeah.
we're
So,
we're gonna be competing. Like this is
dude,
gonna turn.
we're gonna be competitive and competitive amp
We
companies.
should, we should once both our amps are out, we should do like the boxer thing and just like have like a press conference and us just like stare at each other.
Yeah. We would just advertise each other's amps, but do it in a way that we're beefing. Well, or what we
Yeah.
could do is we'll just ditch the thing that we've been working on, and we'll
Mhm.
both agree, hey, we're gonna do the same amp. And I'll go back to Daniel at Port City, say, hey, forget all this work you've done. Um, we're gonna try this thing on dipped and toned. So I need you to do this amp, and then Zach is gonna do his version, and then we'll put them both out, and we'll see whose sells better.
Yeah, let's do it. That'll go over well.
Yeah, yeah, super great business decision.
Do you have a shill of the week? Do you have something?
I do, and I forgot to bring it upstairs. I
Oh
went
no.
downstairs right before we went on.
You can just tell us what it is.
So, no, you go first.
Well, mine, you're gonna have to pay attention on this one because this is new from Mythos, and I'm Discord chat. If you share this or screen cap this, so help me God.
I swear to God.
So this is coming out, I think, on the 11th, which at my speed, the podcast will be up by then. This
Heyo.
is a new fuzz that I'm doing. I don't know if this is going to capture the paint on this for Mass Street Music. And it is basically part of the Spartan series. And it is a silicon fuzz called the 1347, which is Mass Street's street address. And I thought that's a cool number. So we'll put it on there in a vintage ass font. And I'm
Hell yeah.
I'm really digging this. So what it is fuzz face ish, a lot of changes, using very low gain transistors that somehow paired the way we've paired them is loud and aggressive and explosive, and with the bias pot inside, like most fuzz pedals have, you can get this to do all the Velcro-y things or the big thick woolly fuzz sounds, and yeah, should be out in just like a week or so.
I'm
But
very excited to play that. You've sent me a few playing examples of it so far, and it sounds awesome.
dude, and the finish, the finish on it, it just looks blue, right?
It's
But-
the hammer tone, right?
Well, it's hammer tone, but it has a rainbow sparkle top coat. So as you move it in the sun, like outside, this thing, it looks like the most tricked out lowrider. It's incredible. And like I've got some photos that will be shared, but it's really hard to capture on like this. So 1347 Silicon Fuzz coming very soon.
Add it to my tab.
Perfect.
Settle up at the end of the month. I just got it in the mail right before we came on and forgot to bring it upstairs. My shill of the week, and it is a shill because it was given to me for free, but the new Source Audio Zio, the
Oh
their
yeah.
analog front end boost thing. Very excited to try it. I watched Pete Thorne's demo on it where he's on tour in the UK. He made a video like on the road talking about it. And of course, anything Pete does sounds damn good.
Yeah.
Because he's Pete Thorne.
Uh-huh.
But I like this. I like the Source Audio stuff, and I like that they are venturing into the world of analog pedals, because up until this point, everything they've done is digital, and they have a
Yep.
really unique take on how they do digital stuff and everything. But Yeah, like we were saying earlier, I've gotten to the point where I'm starting to kind of prefer more boosts and like preamp style pedals in front of amps than I am just straight ahead overdrives. I like what they do.
Do you have that one?
No,
Man, gotta get you one of these.
I know. Put it on the list. But yeah, I'm excited to try it. I'm sure I'll talk about it again next week once I've had a chance to actually play it. But
did you ever get your fart pedal?
no, I didn't.
Damn it.
Shut up.
Someone said Pete Thorne could make the fart pedal. John B in the chat said Pete Thorne can make the fart pedal musical.
It's
I
true.
doubt it. I doubt it.
It's true.
But I will say that I was glad to see the fart pedal on a JHS like Best of 2021 live stream.
Yep.
Only because he ran it into the Oracle and he delayed it and made it
was great.
oscillate.
It was great. It was awesome.
That's funny.
It's good. It's good times. All right, everyone. That's it. We're done.
No more. It's over.
No mas. No mas. All right. We'll see y'all next week. Subscribe, sign up for our Patreon, do all the things, and catch y'all later.
Bye, everybody.